This is Mike. This is a T-Rex. I am just here so I can film the femur. Many of you know I'm doing an axe carving of a life-size Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton out of wood. And so I needed some footage of how the femur looks from all angles. It's hard to find that kind of information on the internet, so I just want to get some good angles of what it actually looks like. There's one over here. Let's take a look at this. This is a femur of a T-Rex, cast in bronze. I just need these contours. This just helps me see better what I'm looking at in pictures on the internet. This is the Museum of the Rockies here in Montana, in Bozeman, Montana. Boy, he's a big boy. This is a real T-Rex skeleton that has been molded and cast out of bronze, but it's a replica of the original. So this will help me. Okay, I want to point something out. You can see my scribe line here. Just barely how close I am to that scribe line. Now, normally in a full scribe cabin build, I'm not going to want to go anywhere near that scribe line with my chainsaw. I'm going to want to leave a lot more gap, you know, like an 1/8 inch or so between my saw mark and the scribe. And then after I make my V-notch, I'm going to take a grinder or sander and grinder, and I'm going to grind back to this line. Okay, you can be very meticulous with these. I'm not being meticulous with this cabin. This is just a trapper shack, so I'm just roughing it out. But to do real quality work, you want to grind back to the scribe line. You don't want your chainsaw anywhere near this scribe line like I have here. But for this build, I'm just doing her this way. This is just a rough out. But normally you want to leave all of your scribe line visible, and then you want to grind back to it with a sander or grinder. Let me point something out over here too. Okay, let me show you this. Here are my slabs, my saddle notches, my copes. Normally you want to sand all of these very smooth. You can see that I didn't. You can see all my saw marks and rough. But normally, if you want real quality work, you want to sand all of these surfaces smooth prior to scribing. Okay? If you do that prior to scribing, you'll have a way tighter fit. You'll have a more stable scribe. It won't be chattering and it won't be loose. And you'll have a tighter fit when you're done scribing and cutting. And another thing, I'm not doing any of that with this cabin. This is just a trapper shack, a rough out. So I'm just doing a rough, and it looks pretty good. I mean, that looks tight. And for most, practical purposes, it is tight. That's tight. But it could be tighter, okay? This could be airtight almost. But this is just a rough out trapper shack. Now another thing I want to show you is, see on my saddle notches, you can see all the nicks where the chainsaw has created nicks and gouges and knocked out little gaps. And you can see how chewed up it is in there. See this flaky, chewed up? That's because of my chainsaw. Now, if I would have sanded all this and then scribed it and then cut it with the chainsaw but left my scribe line, if I leave my scribe line on the log and then take a sander or grinder and grind back to the scribe line, all of these edges will be straighter, cleaner, and a lot smoother, and you won't have any of those nicks and chips making those little micro gaps, if you can see that. So the more meticulous you are, the tighter these can be. Now I'm not doing that with this. It's just a trapper shack rough out that I'm throwing together. But for all intent and purposes, I mean, it's tight. It looks tight, it is tight, but it could be way better. Thought I'd show you this again. See my scribe line? I think you can see that, and how I use the chainsaw right on that line. That's what I'm talking about. Now, to do a real quality good job, you want to leave the whole scribe line there. You want to have the whole line visible, and you want to leave a little space there. You don't want your chainsaw anywhere near that line. And then you come in with a grinder or sander, and then you grind back. You grind back to the scribe line and make it perfect. But like I said, you know, this is just a trapper shack rough out, so I'm using the chainsaw right up to the scribe line. So again, you can see my scribe line here. Now see how, if I just use the chainsaw to clean this up like that, notice the chips it gets and it knocks out pieces, and it kind of ruins the perfection of the scribe. But again, for this cabin it doesn't matter. But notice the scribe line here in the saddle notch. Now I want to, normally, if I want a real quality job, I'm going to leave that scribe line. I won't even go near it with the saw because the saw chips that out. I won't even go near it. I'll leave the whole scribe line, and then I'll take a grinder, an angle grinder or the sander bit, and I'll grind down to the scribe line. So I'll grind all the way down and get myself a perfect, absolutely perfect edge on the scribe line. I'm getting close. I have to clean this up a bit. Still got to clean that up, but yeah, it kind of doesn't look that great with a chainsaw, but it goes together pretty tight and it'll work out. Hey, she's sitting pretty good, actually. I like that. It's pretty tight. You know, tight enough for no sanders or grinders and just chainsaw, you know. She's pretty tight. Now look at, see, this is what a chainsaw does to you. See these chips? See all those chips that came out of her? It's the chain that does that. So when I'm cleaning the saddle notch to the scribe, the chainsaw rips the edge off, and you get, you know, you get stuck with that. But you know, I think it looks pretty good. You know, it's tight. That's a big log. That's 14 inch, so that's 14 inch diameter log. It's a pretty good size for a little cabin, you know. I think she looks good. So here's that T-Rex leg that I'm carving. Now I needed that footage of the femur that goes on the end here so I can get some size and scope and shape of the ruff that I need to do. This is a tibia. I still need to do the fibula, but it's coming along pretty good. I had to put this off for so long because of the winter, and I had other projects and other things to do. But I'll get back at it now, and hopefully I can bang this thing out pretty quick, and I'll have to build a steel armature for it to mount it and everything. And this thing will probably be about 13 feet tall when it's done. But that's carving.